cars, start your engines!
Yellow's out. Managed just about outran him. And he busted her.
Hello, everybody. We're in the studio late this week. It is Saturday, August 26th, episode number 49. We're one away from the Big 5-0. Been a busy week getting cars ready for today. Just busy with life, little things here and there. So we are currently recording this episode, and we have to be at the track in an hour to get ready for race day. So the cars are already there, so all that's settled. We just have to get there and do final changes, tire pressures, cleaning the cars up just a little bit, and get ready for practice and qualifying. Crown Vic's got a big 75 lapper tonight. You're running what?
20.
Normal 20?
Thank goodness.
So I'm excited to see how that goes for us tonight. I know I'm kind of nervous because Jimmy said that he would start a max of 30, and if there was more than that, he would have to do 2 features, but the second feature would be just like a normal 20-lap feature. Mm-hmm. So if that happens, I hope I'm fast enough to make the main feature. So anyway, like I said, episode 49. We're in the studio on a Saturday. The green flag's out. We're ready to roll 3 wide with DJG. Dakota, how we doing?
We're doing. We got it. I get scared that we have a time limit.
Right.
So I don't know how much we're going to get through. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But other than that, I'm excited for today. I hope that we can pick up where we left off last week with our good results. So looking forward to that. How are you doing?
Doing all right. It has been stupid hot this week.
Yeah.
So I'm weird. I'm never the type of person that sweat just like rolls off. Like I get hot, but my body doesn't sweat. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of annoying. But I'll tell you what, I've been out here working this week, and I mean, doing the slightest thing, and I'm pouring sweat. The humidity's been awful every morning when I walk out the door to go to work. It just hits you, and it's been miserable. Luckily, today's not too bad. It's kind of partly cloudy. It's been cloudy all morning, but it's supposed to be partly cloudy for the remainder of the day. So hopefully the sun kind of stays away, and we can enjoy some cloud-covered track conditions. Because I'm kind of curious to see how the track's going to feel with it being as humid as it has been and the sun beating down on it. So we'll find out whenever we get there. I got some fresh tires on, so I'm going to have to run really light during our first practice to get those ran in. And then we'll go for full bore in qualifying and see if I can continue upping my personal best lap time. But yeah, other than that, it's race day.
Yeah.
All right, I will let you kick things off this week with just a couple of opening announcements.
Yeah, and this type of news always sucks to share. At this point, I think everybody is aware of what happened, but dirt racer Ashley Albertson tragically lost her life, which has just been awful for everybody close to her. I know we know a couple people who knew her pretty well. But I do want to applaud Jack Dossie. Kind of took the initiative to create a memorial race in her honor at Circle City. So the plan is to host the first annual memorial race at Circle City on September 30th. So again, just want to applaud him and everybody else involved with that. And my thoughts and prayers go out to everyone who's dealing with this loss. The other bit of news comes out of NASCAR. Team owner Tommy Baldwin Jr. announced that he has cancer and that his team will withdraw from competition so that they can all focus on his treatment and getting him back into good health. So again, my thoughts and prayers are with everyone there as well. Just a tragic week in racing, I guess.
It really is. Yeah, I agree with Dakota. Thoughts and prayers out to both families and all their friends in these tough times. I know cancer sucks.
Yeah.
It really does. And anytime you hear any sort of talk about it, you can't just brush it off like it's nothing, because it's not.
Right.
it's the real deal. Also with the death of Ashley, like, to my understanding, it was a road rage incident, which blows my mind. It's just like, what could someone possibly have done behind the wheel of a vehicle? Like, just brush it off, move on.
Yeah.
It's not worth that.
And I'm sure, like, in the heat of the moment, nobody's thinking that could happen.
But
this is the harsh reality of what your actions can lead to. And so I know that her dad and her close friends and family have all been, advocating to remember Ashley when you're pissed off behind the wheel and you want to road rage with somebody, because it's just not worth it.
Needless to say, the racing community lost a very bright person. Everything I've seen in regards to her has been very bright, talking about how great of a person she was. And even Flow Racing posted videos of her talking to family and stuff like that, just laughing and having a good time. So it's unfortunate, and like we said, thoughts and prayers out to the families. Which this makes it tough to transition, because you kind of go.
That's why I always hate sharing this news, because it's like, you're heartbroken and you have to share that news, and then it's like onto other things, and it's just like, how do you do that?
Right.
It's
a difficult transition.
Yeah.
But we're gonna move into our Mount Lawn post race from last weekend. All in all, it was a pretty solid day at the track for all of us. The night kicked off with the JW Photography Stock Compacts, where Jacob Johnson grabbed the win. Several drivers were disqualified for breakout violations. The MLRS Legends followed, where Sam Johnson scored the win. The action then moved to the 50th Annual Raintree 100, where Ryan Eminette scored the win, followed by Austin Evans, Austin Coe, Andrew Evans, and Brent Sutton. The Jenna Sweet Treat Pro Compacts then took to the track, where Alex Abbott scored his win. That was his first Pro Compact win, I believe.
Sounds about right.
So, awesome. The Redbones Peach and Chicken Crown Vics close out the night, where Chuck Cook grabbed the win over Kyle Evans and Randy Hoppus. So first off, I want to go Raintree. I want to talk about the Raintree. So our good friend Brent had been working his butt off. Him and his dad and everybody have been working their butt off to get this car ready for Raintree weekend. Brent goes out. Car looks good during practice. And his dad told me that he was down a cylinder. They thought maybe they knew what the issue was, so they made the adjustment before qualifying. The car did not sound right during qualifying. Turns out Brent qualified fourth. So, that says something. That car wasn't fully there, and he qualified fourth.
Right.
After the invert, he started, 12th? Something like that.
Something like that.
And when the caution flew on lap 51, he was in third. And that car was rolling. I thought for sure, I'm like, Brent's got the car to beat right now. He really does. But so I had walked back to start to get ready to get into my car for our race. And I heard a car that did not sound good at all.
Yeah.
It sounded very sick. And sure enough, shortly after that, here comes Brent pulling off the track. I was so heartbroken for him, because I know how much he wanted to win, even just top 5 in that race, and how much time and effort that they have put in, especially with him being a race engineer at ThorSport. So, like, he's not always here to be working on it. So I know to have the car that he had, and then for it to just be ripped out from underneath him like that, I know that's a tough situation to deal with. But no, he ran phenomenal.
He looked amazing.
He looked really good. Travis had some bad luck.
Yeah.
So what happened was they had a B main for the cars that didn't qualify in, and I think during the B main, Travis got into somebody, and was it the left rear was kind of hanging off.
See, I wasn't around for that, so I'm not sure. I just know that somebody took it 3 wide, and Travis was there, and the car sustained damage. At the time, they didn't think they made it into the A main because of the B main. And so they called it a night, and then Travis was going to focus back on the Pro Compact. Well, then the track announces that they're going to let everybody race the A main. That's all I know. But yeah, he did sustain damage nonetheless on the modified.
But ended up making the feature. I believe he ended up pulling off early in the feature too.
Yeah.
But either way. So then, talking about our individual results, Dakota was able to pull off a top 10 finish in the stock compacts. There for a while, that race, there was a lot of... I don't even know how to explain it.
I was getting annoyed.
I know Dakota had a run-in with a driver, and Dakota drove up past him and threw his hand out the window, like, what the hell are you doing?
I was pissed.
That driver...
Ended up wrecking himself.
Ended up in the wall. Not due to Dakota. He did it to himself, I believe.
Yeah.
So, congratulations on a top 10.
Thank you.
Let's see. The Red Bones Pizza and Chicken Crown Vics. I started 4th, which I was very nervous about because, one, that's the first time I've started up front. Like, I was supposed to start up front before, but then I went to the back. But for this race, I debated going to the back because of who started right behind me, and I thought for sure I was getting drove through. Not necessarily drove through, but just going to get
He's not going to wait around.
You know. But, I mean, he's fast, so I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But, like, I was expecting to get a bumper to where that I wasn't going to be able to control.
Right.
And it almost did happen, but it was later on in the race. So I ended up finishing the race P7.
Which, congratulations on your top 10.
I felt really good in the car Saturday. I set my personal best during practice, and I was so close to getting into the 19-second lap times, which was one of my main goals for the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat there and I told Dakota, I said, I have to push a little bit harder in qualifying. I don't know where I can make it up at, but I'm going to try. And then I finally broke into the 19-second lap time during qualifying. Qualified 9th. Invert put me 4th. Finished 7th. Your dad, he struggled a little bit during first practice. I don't know if it was the same issue of...
So... To my understanding, he made adjustments on the car, and it negatively impacted the car, and so his rear end was kicking out from under him, and he's been dealing with this for like 2 weeks now. So he just has a poor handling car at that point. Didn't do too hot in qualifying, didn't do too hot in first practice, to be honest with you. He looked a lot better in the feature, but I know he made a ton of adjustments over this week and last night even. So,
which he did get some new tires.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that'll help him out a little bit. He did take it out to practice the other night and said it felt pretty good.
Yeah.
But obviously we don't really have an accurate way of keeping track of lap times while we're out there practicing like that. But he did bring it home P14 last week. And out of how many? I think there was 21 cars that started. 19 took time during qualifying, but a couple showed up after. So we all had top 15, solid night. I'm hoping that we can continue to have some success this weekend. It is a longer race for the Crown Vics this weekend, so I think it's going to be a little bit of survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
Stay out of trouble. Make sure you're there at the end, and you'll probably have a halfway decent finish.
So what would your strategy be today?
Well, I don't know. I think I'm going to have to wait until I qualify to see how I qualify because I also have new tires. Haven't ran on them yet, so I got to put a quick heat cycle on them during practice. And then when I figure out how I feel after qualifying, I'll have to figure out my strategy. Because initially my thought is to stay kind of towards the back. The only problem with that is I don't want to go down a lap early.
Yeah.
Because I know that the top 4 guys I can't keep up with right now.
Yeah.
I'm working on it, but they're still 0.8 of a second faster than I am. It's better than a second and a half, but it's still significant.
Yeah.
So my main goal is to just stay on the lead lap as long as I can at this point in time. Now, it may get to the point where I'm just like, forget it. I'm going to hang out back here and let y'all do your thing. But I'm hoping with it being a longer race, people will be considerate and take their time because you don't have to get to the front and on lap 1. But that's my thought. I can't speak for everybody else.
Over under 10 cautions tonight.
I say we'll go under because typically our big races have been relatively clean. I know our 100 lapper last year there was only like 2-3 cautions maybe. So I'm hoping that trend continues.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Get the night done early. All right, well, we can move on to some Watkins Glen post-race. The ARCA Series joined NASCAR at Watkins Glen last week, where Connor Zilzit had a dominant car despite a broken sway bar. A late race caution allowed drivers to decide on taking rain tires or sticking with slicks, which I believe 3 drivers did stick with their slicks. Coming to the restart, Connor was able to hold off a charging Jesse Love, but Love closed the gap and made contact exiting the final turn. The move allowed Love to get past Connor. Connor did finish second in his first series start. Love grabbed his 8th win of the season. Brent Cruz, William Solowich, and Dale Quarterly finished out the top 5. The series then traveled to the Illinois State Fairgrounds, where Brent Cruz grabbed the win, followed by Andres Perez, Jesse Love, Kelly Kovsky, and William Solowich, Ken Schrader, Frankie Muniz, Taylor Reimer.
Yep.
John Garrett and Brayton Lester closed out the top 10. The series will be back in action this Sunday at the Milwaukee Mile, with green flags scheduled for 1 p.m. on FS1.
So, one, I didn't know Taylor Reimer was running an ARCA car, because she's a midget driver.
Yeah.
But Jesse Love is on a complete tear. No, he didn't win at the state fairgrounds, but still top 5 finish.
So
and 8 wins this season.
I don't think he'll be in ARCA next year.
There's no way.
I know they were talking about it during broadcast. I think it was Bob Podkirst, because he joined the broadcast for the very first time, and he was talking about what happens with Love next season. And he goes, he's done proved himself. He doesn't have to win this race to prove that he's a dominant driver. So I would be shocked if he does return to ARCA next year. I think he'll be in a truck or maybe even an Xfinity car next year.
I agree with that. I think, I've watched him race super lates before. He's typically pretty fast. Mm-hmm. He goes to ARCA. He has 8 wins this season, and they're not even done.
Right.
So I don't see.
And he's on track. He's on track to, I think they said, score the most wins in a season.
I see it.
Because I think the most wins in a season were like, oh God, don't even quote me on this. But anyway, he's on track. If he can win several more races this year, he'll surpass that record and become the driver with the most wins in a season, which
I don't think there's a need for him to be in an ARCA car next year.
No, absolutely not.
So we have some NASCAR post-race. The Xfinity Series hit the track on Saturday, where a late race restart resulted in some drama. Sam Mayer made contact with Ty Gibbs entering turn 1, resulting in a spin. And I don't think Sam Mayer even attempted to make that corner at all.
No.
He started to and then was like, nah. Let's see. Mayer went on to score a second win in 4 weeks, while Ty Gibbs finished the day 17th. Following the race, Mayer told the media that he wheel-hopped it. He went on to say, I feel bad for doing that. Obviously, you don't want to take out a Gibbs car like that, or any car like that, but I was just trying to get another win in the Xfinity Series. I got a lot of catching up to do. He was also quoted saying, I was in there, I put my nose in there, that's part of it. Fenders are fenders. It was an accident, but I think everyone can agree that it's okay for an Xfinity Series regular to win this race. When asked for his perspective, Gibbs simply mentioned that Mayer has more starts while he has more wins. He also made it clear that he's racing on Sundays, while Mayer is not. Sheldon Creed, Parker Kligerman, Ross Chastain, and Connor Mozak rounded out the top 5.
I love Ty's clapback on Sam.
I'm racing on Sunday.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting pulling these quotes from Mayer. It's essentially like he doesn't know what story he wants to stick with. He's like trying to play like all angles of it. Like, oh, I didn't mean to. Oh, but I did what I had to do to win. And then it was just like the comment of being like, I'm sure everybody would be okay with a regular driver winning that race. I'm like, I think that's just your thought. Nobody would agree. I don't know. Maybe.
I think it would have been different if it wasn't obvious that he didn't try to make the corner.
Yeah.
Like he slowed down and then it just...
He wheel hopped.
Sure.
The Cup Series closed out the weekend in New York, where William Byron scored his 5th win of the season, followed by Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, AJ Allmendinger, and Ty Gibbs. One of the biggest mistakes of the day came when Chase Elliott ran out of fuel during the race. The mistake put Elliott a lap down, and he would finish the day 32nd. The Cup Series will close out the weekend in Daytona today, with a race that is expected to be very aggressive, as this is the final race before this year's playoffs. Looking at the playoff picture, Brad Keselowski and Kevin Harvick officially locked in on points, while Bubba Wallace holds the final playoff spot 32 points above the cutoff line. Rookie Ty Gibbs currently sits 32 points below, followed by Daniel Suarez, who's down 43 points. AJ Allmendinger down 72 points, Alex Bowman down 96 points, and Chase Elliott down 102 points. You can catch all the action on it. Well, you will be able to catch all the action on NBC with green flag scheduled for 7 p.m.
That's tonight, right?
Tonight, which I'm kind of pissed because we're going to be at Mount Lawn. So
I'm going to record it.
I don't know how to do that on our tellies, but besides that, we'll get to that later. So, Xfinity race last night.
It was good.
Very good race. They went into 2 overtime attempts. Very stressful. My heart was racing. I was like, oh my gosh. But Justin Allgaier finally got it done. Austin Hill was the favorite to win. He ended up getting involved in a wreck in the closing laps of that race. It was a very good race. I think, what was it? 0.005 of a second was the margin of victory. During
his interview at the start finish line,
I saw that.
He was like, I won, didn't I? I won, didn't I? He was like, that angle makes it look really bad.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the angle, it's
close.
very close. It was a great finish to a race. But, no, congratulations to Justin Allgaier. Who was it? Who was he racing with? Sheldon Creed?
Sheldon Creed.
And then Parker Kligerman was, right behind him or something like that?
Yeah, so the official 5 was Justin Allgaier, Sheldon Creed, Daniel Hemrick, Parker Kligerman, who had a great night because he was on the bubble, and Cole Custer rounded out the top 5. I know Riley Herbst was very upset last night. I
kind of feel like he has a right to be.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's had part failures the last, 2 weekends. Last night he had a steering box, basically a screw on the steering box came undone, causing his steering to not be worth a damn, which eventually caused his left front tire to boom, blow up and rip
destroy
off
the left front of the car, which
yeah.
you need at Daytona.
Josh Williams was in a pretty nasty wreck. His car got off the ground. I thought for sure it was going to go over.
And then freaking Brandon Jones gets stage points in the first stage and is involved in an accident right at the beginning of stage 2. And I don't know who he hit in the passenger side door, but he nailed them. It reminded me of the Larson.
Yeah.
Who was it? Larson and
Bruce? No. Damn it. Ryan Preece.
Yes.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of that.
A lot of hard hits last night. Daytona and Talladega are 2 races that I love to watch, but like my anxiety and my blood pressure are high because of things like that happening. It's like, hell, like Myatt Snyder getting up in the fence, what was it, a year ago? I mean, that was scary. And then the big flip this year at Talladega where it was like you didn't think that car was ever going to stop. Who else? So Josh Williams had a hard hit. Ryan Ellis, right, had a pretty hard hit off of the infield wall closer to pit road. So a lot of hard hits last night. But despite that, it was a very fantastic race, I thought.
I agree.
Yeah.
Moving on, we are finally getting something that we have talked about for the longest time and how it needs to happen.
Time. And I think we deserve a little bit of credit for this.
I'm not going to lie. I think maybe we do. So it was announced earlier this week that NASCAR has partnered with Netflix to document this year's playoffs. The project is slated to be a 5-part, with each episode being 45 minutes long. This series is set to debut in early 2024, and the announcement for this project stated the series will feature exclusive access to drivers and teams, bringing fans behind the scenes at and away from the track while exploring the physical and mental challenges of competing for a championship at the world's highest level of stock car racing. It has also been confirmed that filming has already begun, with production being shared between NASCAR Studios and Words Plus Pictures Studios. So, we're finally getting some sort of NASCAR documentary-ish deal with Netflix. And we talked about this, how they did it with F1 and how it was really good. Mm-hmm. And so I'm hoping that this pays off like we expect it to.
Oh, I think, I will say, with a lot of things that I say about this, the potential is definitely there, right? The F1 series is fantastic. I'm not the biggest fan of F1, and it brings me in. I didn't watch the Chase to the Championship on TV when they had it, but I heard it was pretty good. I will say Netflix did an awesome job with Bubba Wallace's documentary. So I'm very confident that with NASCAR being involved the way they are, I think it'll be a really good series, and I do think it has a lot of potential to get a lot of people on board with NASCAR.
I agree.
The SRX series closed out their 2023 season last Thursday, where Jonathan Davenport clinched the win after holding off Brad Keselowski in the closing laps. Ken Schrader, Ryan Newman, and Clint Boyer closed out the top 5. Newman, who finished 8th in his heat race, was able to clinch the season championship over Brad Keselowski and reigning series champion Marco Andretti with a 45-point margin. Tony Stewart was the only driver entering the season finale with a chance to score the championship over Newman. I do know that they've been putting out some fun interactive posts on social media asking fans about, what tracks would you like us to go to. They went on to ask about, who they would like to see be sponsors in the series next season, and then who they would like to see race next season. And I think that's pretty cool stuff. So,
yeah, they said they already have all the tracks that they're running at.
Yeah. Well, they have the dates. I don't think they have the tracks necessarily locked in. But, this was their 3rd season, I'm pretty sure. So, I didn't get to watch a lot of this either, which makes me mad sometimes because I'm like, I really want to watch it and I just never get to. But again, hearing from others, it seems like it's a pretty good thing, and I'm excited to hopefully be able to see season 4 of this.
I watched a couple of races this year and it was very entertaining.
Yeah,
it was good.
It's needed.
Yes,
I think so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very exciting stuff.
Okay, so we got some other discussion topics here.
Yeah.
1, Riley Herbst is racing with Front Row Motorsports at Daytona.
Yes. Saw that a day or two ago when they announced it. The only thing, which we have a green flag, red flag segment today too, but that'll be a topic of, do we think this is because he's going to go into Cup next season and we're just trying to get him some more experience, or what's the reason why, right?
I think maybe they're wanting to pursue him, but it's hey, put him in the seat of a Cup car. Let's test the water, see how.
Which, has he ran Cup yet?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Maybe.
I'll find out for next episode. Well, 2 episodes from now if all goes well. But moving on from that, Mazda MX-5 testing at Martinsville. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. So what was the theory behind that?
I think they're going to try to host a race there.
Okay.
Dale Jr. was one of many drivers who tested out there. Of course, that's not my type of racing, so I haven't been following it, but I've seen it in passing on Twitter, and a lot of drivers who tested said that it was a pretty huge success, and it seems like there might be a race there one day at Martinsville with these type of cars.
They're going to be able to drive 5 wide at Martinsville in those things.
Probably.
Literally. Some good news. Tyler Courtney wins his first race back. It wasn't his first race back. Won his first race since he's been back.
Yes.
From his back injury. So that's always positive. It's good to see he still got it.
Yeah. Glad to see that he's back anyway.
Right.
But yeah, huge congrats to him. Landon Huffman also won $30,000 with the Cars Tour. Good stuff. I also know, I think we had talked about this once on the podcast, where one of his late models was involved in a pretty bad accident, and they were going to basically scrap it.
They're fixing it.
I saw a picture. I don't know if you got to see it, but let me see if I can pull it up real quick. But it's like basically nothing left of the car. It's just like the halo. Oh man, hold on. I didn't screenshot it.
Some other news. So you and I talked about how Doug Barnes reached 10,000 subscribers. 8 days after that, he hit 20,000.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Huge congrats to him. I've been following him for a while now. I do love his vlogs from the track.
That's all that's left.
That's all that's left of it. It's just crazy. Didn't somebody else Landon Huffman hit a milestone on YouTube?
He
as well.
also hit 10,000, I believe.
Something like that. Yeah. So hopefully we're next.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
It'd be nice. All right, moving into red flag, green flag. We're just going to start out strong here. 2311 goes to Ford next year.
I don't know. I'm going to say I'm going to throw the yellow on this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any background information behind it. I've just seen people talking about it. So, actually,
I
hang
should
on.
have probably prefaced with some context.
I was going to say, so before let me take back my yellow flag. Can you give me some background information on this?
So this has been a big topic in motorsports world, and as far as I know, the week that NASCAR was in Michigan, Denny Hamlin and officials from 2311 met with the executives at Ford, and many people believe that this stems from the fact that Denny has not re-signed with JGR. So whether it's him keeping his options open, because if he does not sign with JGR, they might make the switch away from the team and manufacture. A lot of people think that this is just bluff from Denny Hamlin to put the pressure on getting him re-signed at JGR. But regardless, they did speak with Ford executives, and many people take this as that 2311 will potentially switch to Ford next year.
So I think I'm going to still throw the yellow flag, and the only reason I'm saying that is because Toyota's pretty dominant. Toyota's good. Now, maybe they're not winning races to the caliber like we're used to, but they're still there. Mm-hmm. Like, when they're good, and it's not just one driver that's good. Right. There are occasions, like sometimes certain tracks, Martin Truex Jr. just goes off on a tear, But for the most part, whenever Denny's up front, you'll have Martin behind him, and then you'll have Christopher Bell behind him, and then like we've seen that Bubba Wallace has been having a solid season. He's running up in top 10s at times, a lot more than normal, right. I should say. So I'm going to say yellow flag because I don't know why they would venture away from Toyota unless, for whatever reason, Denny Hamlin not signing with JGR totally mutilates that relationship that they have. Mm-hmm. And I don't see that happening because of the success that Denny has had with JGR.
Yeah. Well, and I also have a little bit of information regarding that, but I'll share that for the next question. But I agree. I'm gonna throw the yellow on this. I think that it's the conversation was had. We know that. I don't think Denny's ready to pull the trigger on a manufacturer switch. I don't know, but I would assume that there's a lot of work that goes into that, and it's very time consuming, and that change is just a huge thing to take on for any team, let alone 2311, which is a freshly new team. So I'm not going to throw the green flag on this. I think that it was just a conversation to be had. Maybe Denny is preparing for a situation where he just doesn't get re-signed, but again, I do have some information on that. So moving away from that, do we think he stays at JGR?
I do. I want to say eventually he's going to end up at 2311, kind of doing like a Brad Keselowski thing, but I don't think the team's ready for that yet, right? So Roush Fenway.
Keselowski.
Before Keselowski showed up.
Yes.
They had a significant background. They had a good foundation. Whereas 2311 still piggybacking a lot off of JGR.
For sure.
So I think that they are still going to utilize that. I think Denny stays there to help build 2311 before, and then ultimately I think his end goal is to end up racing for 2311.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Here's why I strongly think that he'll stay at JGR is because there's an executive from Joe Gibbs Racing who's on TikTok. Can't think of his name at the moment, but insert here. And I should say allegedly because these were screenshots, so I didn't even go fact check this. But at any rate, people were asking on his videos, are you going to re-sign Denny Hamlin? You guys need to keep Denny Hamlin, whatever. And he basically responded and said he's coming back. So if that is true, if that's really his comments, he knows more than anybody else. So, yeah, I do think he'll return to Joe Gibbs, but I do agree with you 100% that I think at some point he will step away from Joe Gibbs and take on 2311 as a owner and driver.
So we're on the same page there.
Always. Back to Riley Herbst. Do we think he's going to Cup in 2024?
I don't. I think maybe eventually he gets there. Mm-hmm. But from my standpoint, has he won a race this year in the Xfinity Series?
Oops. Sorry, the fan just blew something down. I want to pull up his record real quick because I want to say I don't think has he ever even won a race in Xfinity?
I don't know. And if that's the case, I don't think I've seen enough. But then, again, you could argue that we're kind of rolling the dice with the fact that we think Hailie Deegan would be a better fit in an Xfinity ride than a truck ride. And she hasn't won a truck race. But I don't think that's the same situation.
Here's my thought on it, right? With that, sure. I think Riley has shown a lot of potential.
Yes.
I just don't think Stewart Haas has a great Xfinity program.
Right.
They're suffering in the Cup Series right now.
Right.
Yeah, I think he could do better in the Cup Series, but I think he just needs to really get a better Xfinity ride.
Which is crazy to think about because when you think of like Stewart Haas, you don't think of struggles.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think of them as a midfield or rear field team, but the truth of the matter is I think that's exactly what's been happening these last couple of years.
I would love to see Kevin Harvick get in on that deal. Be like a partial owner.
Well, he's very active with late models and things like that. I think it'd be cool if Kevin Harvick Enterprises came up and actually just had like an Xfinity team.
That would be a cool thing too. I agree.
But I did fact check. Riley has not won a race in the Xfinity Series.
Okay, so I would struggle to move somebody up. It's a difficult decision.
Because it's like, why? I mean, realistically, why would we put him in a car if that's not what we were doing?
Right. I get that. That makes sense.
Or maybe he just had the money and said, hey, put me in a car. I don't know. But
I also feel like there's a lot of drivers that stick out to me.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just a me thing. That if I were to put it on a list, he would be pretty good ways down the list. Not a good ways, but he's not like the top driver.
He wouldn't be my top 5 for sure. But here's the other thing I just thought of about the Xfinity Series, right? How many Ford teams are there?
Like 2.
So he has nowhere to go.
No.
Unless he switched manufacturers, but like, I don't know if that's a possibility for him. I mean, surely it is. It's a possibility for anybody, but you know, that's an interesting conversation to have. There's only 2 teams that field Fords.
Is it 2?
It's 2 or 3.
Because the Fords are definitely the oddball in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's literally 2 or 3. So that's
which blows my mind that Austin Cindric, who was in a Ford in Xfinity, was so dominant, and now it's just like they're there, but are they really?
Yeah. I mean, Cole Custer's another driver who's shown potential for Stewart Haas, but
Cole Custer was also he's ran Cup Series before,
well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I think it's a Stewart Haas problem.
I agree. I'm not defending them or anything. I definitely think it's a Stewart Haas problem, but I don't know.
I feel bad for Riley. I think he's a good driver. I think he's a good kid. I believe he's a good driver. I just don't think he's getting a fair chance at showing his potential because he's shown a lot of potential.
He's definitely improved a lot. I'm not going to undermine that. He's definitely improved a lot because I remember, when Noah Gragson was doing his thing in Xfinity Series and, there was a couple years there and I noticed he progressively got better. Mm-hmm. But it also seems weird to me. I never really understood this. So Monster Energy sponsors Riley Herbst.
Yeah.
But then they also sponsored Ty Gibbs whenever he runs Xfinity. So you have Monster on a Ford and Monster on a Toyota.
Yeah.
How does that make sense?
I don't know.
Is there not like a...
I don't think it's necessarily a conflict of interest.
Also, there was something else, I think, was RCR that has... Someone said they have the weirdest like sponsorship deal because they have 2 cars sponsored by that have the same sponsor. They look identical.
Yeah. Well,
why?
I don't know. I saw something on Twitter about it where that same partner was going to sponsor 2 cars somewhere else. Mm-hmm. I think it was a dig at Chris Hacker though, so I don't know. The whole sponsorship deal in racing is just mind-boggling to me. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do think Monster's not necessarily attached to Toyota or Ford or even the teams. I think it's attached to the driver, and that's just where they follow. But okay. Speaking of Stewart Haas, there's been some rumors that they might lease or sell outright 1 or 2 charters in the Cup Series. What are your thoughts on that?
Green flag. Do it. Please do it.
Yeah.
Use that money wisely.
Yes.
Very wisely.
Yes.
Get your program back on track, and then maybe eventually you buy those charters back.
Mm-hmm. Which, yeah, I agree.
It's a regroup tactic.
Yes. I think that there needs to be significant changes at SHR. I don't know if I would sell the charters, because once you sell them, now you're kind of screwed because of how, one, high dollar they are, but two, nobody's usually selling. It's like oceanfront property. It's like you have to wait 10 years before somebody finally sells. So I could definitely see them leasing them out.
If they do sell them, who buys them?
Well, so I thought about that. I was like, maybe that's where Front Row had the idea of maybe buying a third charter. How they would have paid for it, I still don't know. Trackhouse, I think, is a good
Junior Motorsports.
bet.
I was just saying that.
I
but
wish.
I don't think they would.
I wish, but I don't think they would pay the amount that they're going to be asking for. But I think if money wasn't an issue, I would love to see that happen. I think Trackhouse would be a good thought, because
they only
have 2.
They have 2, so getting a third
would bring. They would have the potential to either open up the Project 91 car full time, or if they felt like Shane could run Cup Series, they could throw him in a Cup car. Although,
a good point.
I don't think Shane. I don't know if Shane wants to do that. He said that he wants to be able to learn more, and he doesn't even think he'll jump up in a Cup full time. But I think Trackhouse would probably consider it because of that Project 91 car going full time instead of part time, or putting up a third car and letting Shane run whenever. Hendrick's out of the question. Joe Gibbs is out of the question because they have 4 charters, and I think that's the limit. I don't know who else is left. All those smaller teams. Front Row. I think Rick Ware might even have 3 or 4. I don't know. That's a good question that I didn't even think of.
Or maybe someone's just going to start a new team out of the blue. And
DJG Motorsports.
we're going Cup racing.
We're going Cup racing. No, I don't know. That's a good question.
We're going to pull a Natalie Decker.
Oh, my God. I don't even want to talk about her, dude. She gets on my damn nerves.
Oh, man. Okay. Last thing for red flag, green flag.
Yep.
Was GMS closing operations due to Jimmy Johnson's decision to switch manufacturers?
So, context. What is the context here? So, Petty Motorsports partnered with GMS a few years ago, became Petty GMS. Jimmy Johnson gets a ownership deal, and then it becomes Legacy Motor Club. It was announced earlier this year, a couple months ago even, that they would be switching manufacturers from Chevy to Toyota, which I thought was interesting because Jimmy Johnson has been with Chevy his entire career. And then it was recently announced, what was it, this last week, that GMS Motorsports will be ceasing operations at the end of the year. Not just their truck teams, but their fabrication shop, which I thought was interesting. Mm-hmm. So that is why I posed the question, do we think that Jimmy Johnson's and the teams, I don't think Jimmy Johnson was the only one that said we're switching. I think it was a team decision. But do you think, regardless, that decision was why they closed doors?
I don't. And the reason being is that I think that obviously Jimmy wanted to be involved in Cup Series and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So that's where the partnership with Petty became a thing. I think that maybe things are worse off there than what came to light, what has come to light. Mm-hmm. I just think, because we talked about how, yes, they've made improvements and this, that, and the other. They're trying to get better, but do you think there was maybe a lack of resources that, maybe someone wasn't willing to fork up any more money, or a leadership problem per se?
That is possible. So Gallagher of GMS is an owner of a Legionnaire, so I don't think resources is an issue. I think if he wanted to put up the money, he absolutely could. I could definitely see it being some sort of leadership issue, because let's go back, 10 years ago, recent history, right? Petty Motorsports was never a dominant team.
Nope.
I can't really speak on GMS because they've only been active in, as far as I know, in the Truck Series. They have been in the Xfinity and Cup Series before, but nothing substantial. So yes, I guess it is possible, and maybe they, Legacy has not been doing as well. I mean, they are a fresh team, but they're probably not doing as well as they had hoped. But with that being said, I mean, one of your truck drivers was in the playoffs last year. As far as I know, is still in the playoffs this year. So I find it confusing that you've had a relatively successful truck program and you guys are closing the doors on that, but also your fabrication shop. That part I'm still...
Yeah.
How does that have anything to do with it?
I don't know. I'm excited to see what kind of news information comes out about that, if anything.
Yeah.
And I hope there's something, because I want to know. It's it's interesting.
Yeah.
For them to just...
But we also got to think about, too, 3 drivers just lost their jobs at the end of the year. One of them being Grant Enfinger, who has been a playoff driver. So I'm hoping that they all 3 land spots. I mean, Raja Karuth and Daniel Dye have all shown potential this year. So it'd be unfortunate to see them lose their rides. And,
I mean, Raja qualified on the pole or second at IRP.
Yeah.
No, I mean, may not have finished where he didn't finish where he started, obviously, but
right.
If you can qualify at IRP's a tough track.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they've all had the potential. Grant Enfinger has been a playoff driver, so that part sucks. So I'm hoping that they're able to rebound from that. But yeah, it is interesting to hear that news and think, okay, maybe this is part of a rebranding, if you will, to focus on building up the Cup Series, the Cup Series program, which I just said SHR should be doing. So I don't know. It was just shocking news, to say the least, I think.
Very. Okay. Last race before the playoffs. Who's your pick to fill the last playoff spot? And I think we're going to agree here.
I don't know. I was thinking about this on the way home. I wanted to ask you first to hear what you thought.
Okay. Well, I'll answer first. Todd Gilliland.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would love it if Toddy G won. That would be fantastic. Don't know if it's going to happen, but it is Daytona. And I told you that. It's Daytona. Anything can happen. Truth be told, I don't know. I was focusing more on the bubble drivers, the drivers on the bubble, whether Bubba Wallace would be able to maintain that point lead and lock in on points.
I don't think he's going to.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm going to say this. Bubba is a fantastic super speedway driver, and I think he will be up front at the end. But I'm going to say this. I think there's going to be a late block or something.
You think something big's going to happen at the end?
Something big's going to happen, and somehow Ty Gibbs or someone else on the bubble is going to come out in front.
Yeah.
And maybe, see, Bubba's only,
32 points above. So he does not have, that's nothing.
So Ty Gibbs isn't a must-win.
No, he is.
So
no, he's down 32 points. So him and Bubba are on the bubble.
Right. So because if Bubba finishes after the wreck, becomes a DNF, and Ty Gibbs finishes up in top 5.
Yeah. Well, and that's my thing. It's it's going to be interesting because if we do have a repeat winner,
every position's a point, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to throw everything off. If we have a new winner like Toddy G,
that screws everybody.
Everyone that we just talked about, irrelevant. Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Allmendinger, Suarez. I mean, all of them are in a must-win situation at this point. Bubba Wallace and Ty Gibbs are in a must-win. I wouldn't rely on locking in on points with it being so close.
Speaking of, this was brought up in another racing podcast. If Toddy G wins and makes it into the playoffs, Front Row Motorsports will have as many cars in the playoffs as Hendricks. Mm-hmm. Was it Gibbs? No. RCR? It was 2 of the big dominant
teams. 2 of the big teams, and I think they said more than Stuart Haas.
Yeah.
And a couple other teams. I also think they said, not that podcast in particular, but I think people have said that this year has been, there's like 10 different teams in the playoffs this year? Some shit like that. It's like the most diverse playoff field in history or some shit like that. So I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, I don't know. To answer that question, I would love, as much as I hate to say this, I think it would be cool to see Bubba Wallace make the playoffs. Obviously, as a Chase Elliott fan, I want him to walk in.
But Bubba making the playoffs would be big for 23-11.
For sure. But I don't know. I really don't have a pick. I mean, Toddy G would be like my, like...
Statistically, he has solid finishes.
Yes. Yeah.
Daytona.
So he is my... He would be a pick. Ty Gibbs has done pretty well. So it's quite possible for him. Maybe Chase can pull it off. Alex Bowman pulls it off. I don't know.
I think if Ty Gibbs doesn't get ahead of himself, he's a young driver. Mm-hmm. So if he can compose himself and control himself, I think he can set himself up for success.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of keeping calm and not freaking out in a situation.
Yeah.
Which I think he's capable of controlling himself, but I know I wouldn't be able to in that situation.
Right. Yeah, so I will agree with you because we have talked about it. Toddy G would be my pick, but I hate races like this race is crazy because it's the last race before the playoffs. It's at Daytona.
It's literally an anyone can win race.
I could go out there in my compact and I could possibly win. You know, it's just so unpredictable. So it'll be interesting. I'm going to try to watch as much as I can tonight. But
maybe we'll be done early.
God, it'd be nice. But it's going to be an exciting race regardless. Hope all goes well. I hope nothing too crazy happens tonight. And I'm interested to see how our playoffs will look after tonight.
Right. Me too. Well, that is all I have. We are about to head to Mount Lawn Speedway to get ready for our race day. Big 75 lapper tonight for me and your dad. So hopefully not too much drama with that.
All goes well.
Yeah. Stay tuned for our next episode, episode 50. We are hopefully having something,
I would say pretty special
planned. We're in the works with that. We're excited to bring that to you guys. Also remember, as we are inching towards the month of September, we do have our giveaway, which we're going to have to figure something out with that because of the way Winchester's doing things this year.
Yeah, I won't say anything now because I don't want it to be held against me, but yeah, we do need to talk about that. Do you want to share some of the big news that's been going on?
In regards to
the podcast and the team and all that?
I'll let you do it.
I don't know. I think you should.
Because I don't want to leave anything out. You've been kind of the...
there's not much to leave out. So I mean,
you've been the leader of all of this.
We've been developing strategies, essentially a playbook. Thank God we're on the same page, it seems like. Because I was like, what if we're not seeing the same things? But no, we've talked about making things more official in many different ways. And so we just said, all right, let's pull the trigger. So now we're officially a business partners, which I'm very excited for.
It is now DJG Motorsports LLC.
We're legit in the state of Indiana, and we're business partners, which I'm still like trying to wrap my mind around. So we're excited for that. I hope. I mean, it's not going to change anything right now, but it'll help us out, I think, in the future. All that good stuff. Like I said, we're creating strategies, talking strategies, all that good stuff. I think there's a lot of potential with that. We're I would say we are really focused on the coming years and what we would like to achieve there. So, yeah, I would ask that you stick with us, provide us feedback if you want, and bear with us as we look to the future and move forward.
Oh, also, we apologize for not vlogging last week. We did go ahead and post my in-car footage.
Yeah.
I'm planning on having the GoPro in the car tonight. I don't know if you're going to...
I'm going to try using mine. I still don't have a mount, but I just want to say for the record, I'm going to tell you now, forget about the idea of us vlogging. I don't think it'll ever happen right now, but we will post in-car footage. I think that's more reasonable.
It's in-car footage is relatively easy to do.
Yes.
It doesn't require us to get out and talk. Not that I don't want to.
I would love to. It's just impossible.
Don't have time
or resources to do it. It's impossible. Maybe in the future, but in car, it's simple to put together, I would say, and it's still interesting to watch.
Absolutely. So yeah, be sure to check that out. We'll have this episode uploaded as soon as we can. I know Dakota's busy, so
I'll try to get
it takes a lot of
ASAP.
time. It takes a lot of time. I'm not trying to. So just be patient. Like I said, or like Dakota said, we got a lot of good things in the works. We're on the same page. We've been having some good discussions. And yeah, so with that being said, we are off to the racetrack, and